are talking about specifically about short sales in today's market. And we're going to keep it short. We're going to keep it brief. But the reason we're talking about short sales in today's market is because we're seeing a lot of the banks that are approving short sales today. We're seeing a lot of the banks that are the dropping their prices at the time of auction. So we're seeing a lot of that happening, and we're seeing a lot of REOs that are dropping their numbers in terms of what they're willing to take the property at, in terms of what basically you can buy the property for. So we're seeing a lot of that happen. Hence, we're focusing on short sales because a lot of these banks are willing to work with you with numbers that are going to make sense for all of us. So for everybody that is already registered for 3-day, we sent you the list. So today we're going to go through, and you should already have that list. If you don't have that list, then make sure you're at the meeting. Either you're here in person at the office or you're online tomorrow, because tomorrow we're going to go through a detailed part of pre-foreclosure. So it's a really, really important meeting that you attend tomorrow. But today we're going to just talk about the short sale part of it. And so these are all properties that are going to be upside down. So in today's market, right, and I'll share my screen and go through this in a minute. So in today's market, if a property is worth $300,000, right, this is the ARV on the property, meaning after repair value on a property is $300,000, and that's the value today. Then what it means is that minimum, you need at least 30 to 35% equity in it minimum, right? Anything less than that, so I would keep it at 40. If a property does not have a 40% equity in it, right, what does that translate to? What that translates to is the mortgage is less than 60%. So of 300,000, what's going to be 60%? So we have a math genius in the office. I'm going to let her figure it out, which is, her name is Lori. I'm just kidding. So Lori, what's 60% of 180,000, for $300,000, right? So Lori's answer was 250. That's not the answer. The answer is it's going to be 180K, right? So on a $300,000 house, if the loan is not less than $180,000, it's going to end up being a short sale pretty much. So what does that mean? What that means is this, that the list of all the pre-foreclosures that we sent you, right? If you're registered for 3-day, you've already gotten that list. What that means is you're going to go through that list. Number one, and this is something in much more detail tomorrow I'll cover. I can't cover that today. But we're going to do our first sort, which is we're going to do it based on price range and city. That's going to be the first sort. In the second sort, it's going to be what is the mortgage owed. So anything that has basically 40% or more, 60% or less equity in it, all of that stuff is going to be pretty much that you can go after as a short sale. So tomorrow, the list that you'll get the properties that are only going to go for short sale, right? And that's it, period. The property's worth 300. The loan on it is 250. Great. It's going to be a short sale. The property's worth 300, all fixed up. The loan on it is going to be 200. Great. All fixed up. It's good to go, right? So my point being is any of that stuff, if it's basically a property that is going to be upside down, or even if the property is not upside down, but there's not enough equity because you need work in the property is upside down. That's the end of story, right? So you don't need to think about it. Boom, it becomes a great property to go after. Reason why we're encouraging you today to go after those short sales is because there is a lot of potential. Number one, the interest rates that's on those properties is low. So you could buy that property with a subject to type of situation. Or secondly, you could just go to the bank and buy it directly as a short sale. And that's what we're going to talk about, that how does that work? What is the exact timeline? So let's get into it. I know I'm kind of skipping over this part, but that part is really important. We're going to cover that specifically tomorrow, and the rest of it, which is the exact numbers, that how do you actually make this happen, we're going to cover it at the 3-day. This time, hey, Lori, can you schedule this? Make sure that at the 3-day, tell Ms. Gina, I want her to go through the entire packet of what a short sale exactly looks like, the presentation. And we take an hour and go through that step by step by step by step by step. That way, everybody gets a good, clear understanding of exactly what it is. So that's day one. We'll do that. That way, you know exactly what the short sale packet looks like. How do you put it together? Because that is something critical if you want to find properties at a good price. So there's a property on Glenwood, 705 Glenwood or 507? 507. And what's the address on it? Yeah, 507 East Maple. So it's 507 East Maple, Glenwood. This is a property you should look up on Zillow, right? So it's 507 East Maple, right, in Glenwood. So that's where that property is. So this is a property that I purchased. It's a short sale. Perfect example of how this was bought as a short sale. And that was bought for, what was the purchase price on it? 170, 117? Yeah, it was purchased for 117. I just had it fixed, completely fixed up for $32,000. So 117 plus 32. So that's going to be, let's make it 120. 120 plus 32,000. That you're in the deal for 152,000, right? And on the back end, the appraisal just came back at 260. Now think about it, right? This is an impossible property. I could not have got this on the MLS. I would not get this at auction, but yet it was gotten as a short sale, and now it works. It's not on the MLS. So it's a property that was off the MLS property that was gotten as a short sale, and I'm going to keep it for a rental, but this could be a phenomenal property that you could flip if you chose to flip the property, because your basis in the property is 150, back-end values coming somewhere around 250, 260 all day long, right? So this is the advantage. Well, this is the reason why I'm suggesting this is so important, because right now, banks want to get rid of these properties because the loans people can get, right? They're not going to be able to get the loans to be able to fix up. And the investor market has gone down because the interest rates went up a little bit. So it's a great opportunity for seasoned investors or for new investors that are smart investors to jump in. So having said that, I'm going to share my screen. So bear with me for a second. Okay. So hopefully you can look at my screen. So the first thing that we have to look at, right, is how would you come up with a price on what would I, once you've done, so let me just write down the steps really quick here. Delete. Right? So step number one is going to be you're going to pick your areas. That's going to be step number one, right? And I'm assuming you've already sorted the list. So actually, let me first do that. Sort list for 60%, for 40% or less equity, right? So that'll give you all the properties that are short sales. Number two is you're going to sort the list by city. If you're in the suburbs, if you're in Chicago, or if you're in any other part of the country, you do it by the city. Like in Florida market, we do it by the city. In Illinois, if you're in Chicago specifically, then we do it by zip code, because you can't do Chicago, it's too big, right? So that's the reason. So we're assuming you've done step one, you've done step two, you've done step three, which is price range search, right? That what type of price range properties are you going to go after? Once you've done those three things, then the fourth thing, what you have to think about is, once you've identified, okay, this is the property. Then what we're going to look at is um, something like this, right? What I have in front of me, and that is a flip calculator. Now, this flip calculator will have a calculator like this during the 3-day that you'll have to do the numbers on, and we'll do those things together, where we're going to go through and look at, okay, what is the property worth? So if you look at, so this is a calculator I'm using basically from Mastery. So, but I want to kind of run through this really, really quick. And it'll be basically, number one, what is your after repair value? In this case, I put a scenario with the after repair value is 200,000. How long am I going to carry the property? We're going to always put minimum of 6 months. Even if it's a rental, you're like, Andrew, I'm going to get it done in 4 months. It's okay. Just put 6 in there, right? The next thing I'm going to look at is purchase-related costs, finance costs, all these costs. And how do we come up with this? We'll talk about this during the 3-day. Then I'm going to come back to the big one, which is how much repair costs. Right? And so what we're doing is we're putting in what are my costs, and the calculator on the back end will say, hey, the maximum you should be offering on this property is X amount of dollars, right? So in this case, the answer is $112,000. Now, whenever you offer $112,000, understand the banks are not stupid. They're not just going to give you a property just because you're like, well, that's what the calculator says. With the banks, when you talk to them, the way you have to communicate with them is say, hey, Mr. Banker, listen, now, if the property is really worth 200,000, you're not going to say to them it's worth 200,000. You're going to say to them, hey, I think maybe it's worth 175, 180,000 bucks, right? Then I have to do, if your budget is 30,000, you say, I don't know. I mean, it's going to take 40, 50,000, man, to fix up the property at least, if not more, maybe 60. Right? So when I'm saying that I'm offering you 110 or 115 for the property, that's a fair price, because back end the property is only worth 180, and then I'm going to have to do 50, 60 in work, right? You're going to be basically embellish. This is the place where you're going to embellish a little bit, because you're not going to give them what your hard number is. You're going to embellish a little bit, right? And at that point, you're like, hey, I'm backing into it. I need to make at least $10,000, $12,000 in profit. So that's why I'm offering you 112. Banks understand that they're not going to get a full price on the property. They're already building in a 20% discount on it, right? They know that. They're not stupid, but you got to be able to give them. And whenever you take pictures of the property, right, you're going to take pictures really, really close. So if there's a little bit of mold, take a picture that makes it look larger than life, right? Because your job is not to lie, but your job is put your best foot forward. That's your job. So that's the reason we're going to justify to the bank that, hey, why are we offering what we're offering? But let's look at, what does this process look like? So this process looks something like this. So what happens is, here, okay, so payment is due. So let's just say January 1st, somebody's payment is due. They don't make the payment on that date. Number two, what will happen is they don't make a payment for 30 days. Number three, 60 days, they don't make a payment. And at 90-day mark, at some point, they're going to file, the bank is going to file for a foreclosure action, which is called lis pendens. When they file for foreclosure action, at that time is when we all find out, oh my God, the property is in foreclosure. That's when everybody finds out at the same time, right? Now, that's where this list comes from. The foreclosure list comes from there. So at that point, what happens is that now the homeowner may be working out some sort of a loan workout, right? Understand, of all the people that get even a loan workout program, only 4 or 5% succeed. Rest, all of them are going to go right back into foreclosure. So just because they say, oh, we worked it out, everything is okay, it's temporary, right? So the loan workout at some point is going to fail. That's just how it works, right? What the bank is doing, what this arrow that I'm showing you guys, what the bank is doing is they're pushing the property. The only choice the bank has is they're going to call the customer and says, hey, can we do a workout with you? Can you do some sort of a settlement, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, as soon as they file the foreclosure action, the only way a bank is going to recover their money right, unless you do a short sale, is going to be by taking the property to auction. So every bank that's in every state, it's the same process. So they're pushing the property to go to an auction, meaning that's going to be your sheriff sale, a trustee sale. It's two different names for the same exact thing. So that's what they're pushing the property towards, right? So this is something important for us to understand. Now, how do we benefit from this? Now, if you're in Florida, if you're in Tennessee, if you're in Texas, you got to be quick, right? You got to be on top of it because they move the foreclosures along at a very, very fast pace, right? If you're in Illinois, it takes a little bit longer, about a year and a half in today's time to about 2 years, right? But now after Corona, the judges are not being as lenient as they were before Corona. So they're trying to push these files through so that this gets resolved, this gets done. So what we have to do is this at that point, that if we've contacted the homeowner and the homeowner is saying, yes, I'm willing to do something, yes, help me, right? And I talked about that the other day about this, how to do that. We'll cover this tomorrow in much more detail. If the homeowner is saying, yes, help me. Now, what does that process look like? What that process looks like is at some point, the bank, and this depends on the bank, right? This is not, you don't have to necessarily list the property. Some banks will require you to list the property. Now, who do you want to list the property with? Well, you want to list the property with an agent that is business friendly, that knows you, that's willing to cooperate with you, and that's willing to work with you. If the property needs a lot of work, because you need the agent's cooperation, right? Now, you can't be the listing agent and you can't be the buyer of the property, right? That's not going to work. So because the lender will not allow that. They're like, oh, you're serving two masters. No, that's not going to work, right? Then you got to basically get the property under contract and you got to send all that paperwork. Now, if you are in the Florida market, you can do this yourself. You can get a good title company to do this for you. You can get a good attorney to do it for you. If you're and Florida I'm using as in outside of Illinois, right? Because that's the other place we do a lot of investing. So that's why I'm using that. You're in Texas, you're in Tennessee, it really doesn't make any difference, right? It's all the same. So you're going to basically have to get that, get that going. Best way to do it, if you don't know what you're doing, all your job is to get the property under contract. That's it. You don't have to do anything else. You can go to a title company. They can help you with this process. You can go to an attorney. They would love to have your business and they'll help you with the process. If you're in the Chicago market, then just go to Miss Gina. She'll be happy to help you with this, right? This is their job to do. Your job is just to help them gather the paperwork, talk to the person, gather the paperwork. At that point, what you're doing is they'll put together the packet. That packet is called short sale packet. So it's going to have the contract. It's going to have when are you going to buy the property. It's going to have a hardship letter from the homeowner. It's going to have some of the information the bank is going to require, some of the other stuff the bank is going to require, and it's going to have a representation of who is being represented by the attorney, right? And all this stuff, we'll talk about this tomorrow. So now, the bank review paperwork, right? So what do I mean by that? Once you send the paperwork to them, the bank is going to start reviewing the paperwork. They're going to assign somebody, an asset manager, to that file, and then they'll start the review of the paperwork, right? They're just going through the paperwork. At some point, they're either going to basically have so that's where it says loss mitigation person assigned, right? Then after that, the next step is going to be a BPO agent, meaning a broker's price opinion agent is going to be assigned. That's going to give a broker's price opinion, or an appraiser is going to be assigned, right? Either way, it doesn't matter. So they're going to be assigned. Like I'm buying a property right now where the appraiser just went over there and they looked at the property. So this property, the way it is right now, right? It's a short sale. The way it is, it's a one bedroom. Now, who the heck in their right mind is going to buy a one bedroom property? Nobody. Right? So the appraiser calls me and he's like, man, this is a stupid property, dude, because it's only one bedroom. I'm like, yeah, I know, man. That's the problem. That's why I need to buy it like really, really good price. He's like, yeah, man, I wouldn't buy this property. Nobody's going to buy this property. Right? I don't know what you're going to do with it. That's exactly what I want the appraiser to think. Right? So he's like, well, you got to do something. Maybe the room in the back over there, you got to make it at least a 2-bedroom. I'm like, that's exactly what I'm planning to do. Perfect. As it is, it doesn't have any value. Great, right? I didn't say it, he's saying it. So I'm like, yeah, you're 100% right, man. I really need to work out. He's like, man, I can't give you any more than $100,000 appraisal on the property. I'm like, beautiful, great, right? It's an area. I'm buying the property at a really, I'm trying to, I should say, at a really good price. The appraiser thinks it's worthless, right? Now, this is the appraiser on the front end. This is not the appraiser who's going to appraise the property on the back end when it's all fixed up and nice. So I'm like, yeah, man, that's really important. I really need to buy it at a reasonable number. So guess what he did? He gave them a value that was even lower than what I'm buying the property for, right? It was his value was about 8,000 or 9,000 lower in his mind, which I'm excited, right? And I'm excited because the bank is going to accept my offer. And I know at my number, I can make money hand over fist in that particular property. So because I'm buying it close to somewhere around 100, back-end value is about 230, 240, right? And the appraiser says the value is 252 on the appraisal. Back end, once you add the second bedroom, it's new plumbing, new electrical, so I'm going to have to do the property nicely and with the roof. But guess what? The appraiser helping me in this process, right? Now the appraisal is done, and this is where you got to be careful that if there's a BPO agent, broker's price opinion, sometimes it's an agent that is being sent over there. So when the agent goes there, if they're saying, oh my God, this is terrible, this is blah, 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 or you got to embellish the fact, oh, look at the roof, it's a mess. Oh, look at this, it's a mess. Oh my God, I got to do all new electrical, all new plumbing. If you're going to do that anyways, right, you got to embellish that. Oh my God, it's going to be so expensive. This is when you act like a drama queen, right? Because it's important to put that in their mind that this is going to be super expensive to do, right? Because you got to throw out all kinds of retail pricing, which is exactly what I did. So because I'm trying to get a deal, it's their job to decide, I'm not going to lie to them, but certainly I'm going to embellish all I want because guess what? I want to get a deal. So sometimes if it's a BPO agent, they have these fantasies of crazy prices. So they can mess up your deal. So you got to be careful and make sure you go there, right? Go there, meet them, and make them understand why you need to buy the property at the price you're saying. The price you're saying is a really fair price, right? That's what you got to show them. Then what's going to happen is once that BPO is done, by this time, generally about 30 to 60 days have passed. So if 30 or 60 days have passed, then they're going to say, well, we need additional paperwork. That paperwork is old. You're going to have to do a second set of paperwork. Just understand, guys, if you want to buy incredible deals, you're going to have to put some work in, right? If you're just like, hey, I'm not going to put any work in and I want to be rich overnight, then go buy crypto, right? I'm sure there you'll become a bajillionaire in 2 days. But in real estate, you got to put a little bit of work in. And I'm being facetious, of course, but please understand there's a little bit of work involved here. Now, once that is done, the next step is going to be that you're going to get an approval at that point. If you've done all, and mind you, generally, if we look at our files, about 85% times to 90% times, we're going to succeed with the short sale. Now, the reason I showed you that example of that property in Glenwood, if you look at it from the time I got the property under contract to the time that I actually got an approval, not 2 months, right? 2 years, right? I literally said, now today that time has been shrunk down to 60 days. Why? Because what happened in the last 2 years? The market went from here, it went up here. At one time, I had made an offer to buy that property $140,000. And over time, as the market went up, it changed. Guess what I did to my offer? I reduced my offer than what I was willing to pay, right? Why? Because the market changed. I can do that in a short sale. So at some point, once you have an approval, now you're going to take the property to a closing, or if you're not able to do that, guess what's going to happen? That property is going to end up as auction, right? The reason why short sales can be so darn lucrative, right? The reason they're so lucrative is because you can pick up these short sales at a really good number. That's why these short sales are so lucrative, and that's why you have to pay attention to them. So that is the general process, and we'll go through that. The reason we're doing this today, we talked about the other day about the list. Today we talked about the short sale. Tomorrow we're going to talk about pre-foreclosure. So that's really important to understand the whole process and how many profit centers there are. in a pre-foreclosure process, there are a minimum of 4 profit centers, right? Short sale being one of them. Auctions being another one. We'll discuss the rest of them tomorrow as we get into it. Hopefully this has made sense. Again, if you're a member of Burke Cashflow Investors, welcome. If you're new to the group, welcome. If you're not a member, then make sure you join the Facebook group, become a part of the community, contribute to it, and also invite your friends and family, because remember, we're giving away the cruise for 2. So somebody's going to win, right? Somebody is going to win a cruise for 2. It's completely paid for as somebody that is a member of Burke Cashflow, or if you invite a bunch of people. If you invite a bunch of people, your odds of winning that obviously go up because you invited a bunch of people, so you're going to have that many more names in the thing. It's like buying more lottery tickets. So having said that, hopefully this makes sense. Oh, Miss Jennifer posted that cruise for 2, or Lori maybe. So talk to you guys soon, and I'll see you tomorrow at the meeting here at the office. If you are going to attend, try to be in person so you can meet other people, you can shake their hands, you can talk to other investors, you can talk to the lenders, and we'll also talk to you tomorrow. Otherwise, I'll see you online. Thanks, and have a good